Okay. Ooh, got three microphones sitting here now. They keep expanding. I don't even like one microphone, to tell you the truth. But okay, so welcome back, everyone. Thanks for making the effort to come out here today. We'll start off, as usual, with some meditation, and then we'll carry on. So, sitting in meditation posture, and just relaxing the body, letting go of any preoccupations that have built up during the week, and letting go of any tension with the out-breath. Establishing good motivation for the meditation today to ensure it has a long-lasting beneficial effect. So we're thinking, though we wish, so individually each of us wish for more and more happiness in life. We're always pursuing happiness. And recognizing those close to us have exactly the same aspiration. It's the primary issue for them too, for our friends and family. And in actual fact, it's the primary issue for all living beings, whether we know them or not. All living beings, humans, animals, beings in all the various different realms, have this underlying aspiration or need for peace and happiness. Yet experience so many difficulties in life. So we develop the aspiration, may all living beings, may oneself, friends, family, all living beings, everyone, experience peace, experience good conditions, good relations, and more happiness, all the way to complete perfect enlightenment. And for that reason, we practice the Dharma today. And stabilizing the mind on the sensation of the breath. The breath, either at your nostrils or in your tummy, in the abdomen. So identify the object of meditation, the sensation of your breath, And allow your attention to absorb into that sensation. And every time your mind turns to something else, and bring it back to the breath, the sensation of the breath. And having relaxed the mind on the breath for a short time, we can practice the rainbow body meditation. And so first of all, at your crown chakra, or at your crown, the energy center at your crown is called the chakra. And visualize a rainbow-colored drop of light, beautiful, radiant, a small drop of light, like a rainbow, rainbow-colored. And light emanates from this drop and transforms your crown chakra, or your crown energy center, into rainbow light. Then imagine this rainbow-colored drop then descends to your throat chakra. And transforms your throat chakra into rainbow light. Very beautiful, very healing. And the rainbow-colored drop descends from your throat down to your heart and transforms your heart chakra, or the energy center at your heart, into rainbow light. Then the drop descends to your navel chakra, transforming that into radiant rainbow light nature. And then the drop descends to the chakra at the base of your spine, again transforming it into rainbow light. So then all the chakras or energy centers in your body are now in the nature of rainbow light. And light radiates from them, transforms your coarse body, your gross body, into rainbow light, pure light-natured body. The light then extends out further, transforming your dwelling and the land, such as this temple and the gardens, into rainbow light. And it then extends out further, step by step. So the entire world, a community of beings, is transformed into rainbow light nature. And stabilize the mind on this visualization. And gradually, the rainbow light-colored world dissolves step by step and absorbs into your rainbow-colored body. Your rainbow light body then absorbs from the feet up into the rainbow coloured drop at your crown, so that all that's left is the rainbow coloured drop. and the rainbow-coloured drop then dissolves into emptiness. And stabilize the mind on emptiness. Space-like emptiness. And we can finish the meditation. So that meditation is the cause of your body becoming very light and energetic. And if you want to remain youthful, that's a very good meditation, apparently. Occasionally you do see some like great meditators, some of these great masters, and they're very, very light on their feet. Very, it's a strange thing. This rainbow meditation is said to be the cause of that. So, yeah. All right, so the subject today in Meditations on the Path to Enlightenment is death and impermanence. So it's chapter 5. And so impermanence, the Buddha explains that pretty much all things are products. So what that means is almost everything that you know, including your body, your mind, your family, the world, arises, it's a product, it's produced by an aggregation of things coming together. And everything that's things coming together, causes and conditions coming together, then the thing arises. Like causes of a cake, the flour, the eggs, whatever, cocoa powder, and the oven and the mixing, all those causes and conditions coming together ends up with this product, a cake. And the Buddha explained that all products are impermanent. So, as they arise, they have their time, then they disintegrate. And impermanence has two aspects. There's what's called gross impermanence and subtle impermanence. So subtle impermanence isn't something we normally notice. It's the momentary change of all things, all products. So nothing can abide, no product can abide in the way it is for a second moment. It's continuously changing. So if you ask a physicist, then they'll say that's correct. Like the way we see things, we don't see that's changing, that book. But if you look down at a atomic level, and there's continuous vibration, there's continuous movement, and if you go below sort of to the quantum level, then there's a continuous state of change. And it's the same with our bodies and same with our minds, and we don't apprehend this. So in that sense, we're not dealing with the reality of subtle impermanence. And every atom in our body is like that, every cell in our body. If you observe your mind, you'll see it's never the same. It's step by step, there's slight feeling difference, there's different things appearing to mind. There's a continuum of moments, but every one is actually very slightly different. It's change from moment to moment to moment. Same for the entire universe, and the things that look most permanent, like mountains made of granite and so on, or sort of stainless steel bowls made of medical grade stainless steel look like they'll last forever. So that's subtle impermanence. There's this continuous movement, and Yeah, and then gross impermanence is when we, what we would normally understand as impermanence, when something's finished completely. Like if I have a heart attack and keel over, that's the gross impermanence of my life, it's finished. Or we have a car smash, or if our car rusts to bits and it's no longer recognisable as a car, and that's the gross impermanence of that thing. So there's sort of lots of examples of there's very small changes we don't notice that aggregate to a big change. Like, for example, you don't notice when I was young, when I was brushing my hair, I didn't notice that the one more hair on the brush each time. Then eventually you look in the mirror and you're in the bathroom where there's two mirrors, one behind, and suddenly you realise, well, what in the world just happened? Or we might, have a habit of eating, I don't know, Krispy Kreme donuts, and we're not noticing the effect it's having on our body. And then one day, a few years later, you get up, you go to the bathroom, and there's this pear shape in front of you. And that was the gross impermanence of your old physical form. Or the same with plaque in the heart. We don't notice the gradual aggregation until we have the blockage and the heart attack. So there's lots of sort of examples in life where, or I suppose on a relationship level, you might have a very critical relationship going on and sort of criticize, and you don't really notice it until the separation happens or the divorce happens. But it's sort of aggregating. Or on a more positive note, with path to enlightenment, the Buddha said, with every good thought, every virtuous thought, every virtuous action, it's step by step. You can't see it being a cause of good karma, cause of accumulating merit in your mental continuum, but it's step by step becoming a cause of happiness, good rebirth, and eventually enlightenment. So that's like the big picture. We don't notice the small things so much. So, yeah, impermanence is a big deal in terms of reality. It's a big deal, and we don't pay much attention to it. So I'll just quote from one of the Buddhas from Transmission of the Vinaya. And Lord Buddha said, collection ends in dispersal, rising ends in falling, meeting ends in parting, and birth ends in death. So these are called the four limits of products, or the four limits of the produced. So the first one, collection ends in dispersal. We spend a lot of our lives collecting things, like accumulating sort of household possessions or money, and then people collect all sorts of things. Like there's people who collect traffic cones. There's people who collect towels from hotel rooms. Occasionally there's people who sneak around your neighbourhood at night and collect underwear, and have this big collection of... So, yeah, there's people who collect, I don't know, there's people who collect airline sick bags, believe it or not, and they collect them. But anyway, more generally, we have an accumulation of stuff in our lives, and we spend a lot of effort accumulating those things, like whether it's the next car we want, the property, or the new phone, or a bigger collection of money in our superannuation or our bank account. So there's a big focus of our energy into collecting stuff. So and also countries collect stuff, like the British Empire. They basically grabbed a lot of stuff from different countries that they were invading, and a lot of it ended up in these huge museums, like in London, the British Museum and so on. And lots of countries want their stuff back. But even these great collections of things, according to the Buddha, collection ends in dispersal. So no matter what we've collected in our lives, it will be dispersed. So the ones and zeros in our superannuation, it's a figure that's held on a computer. The same with our bank account. That will be dispersed. Those ones and zeros will go to someone else. And it's the same. The Buddha said everything in our life is like that. There's nothing we can retain and hold on to. Whether we're separated in this life, during life, by our house burning down, a car rusting, being robbed, so becoming destitute, or definitely at the end of this life, we take nothing with us. So Geshe Loden used to say, Queen Elizabeth and a kookaburra at the time of death are completely the same. The Queen Elizabeth loses Buckingham Palace, and the kookaburra loses its rock, but they're gone, completely nothing left in the hand, nothing to hold on to. So the Buddha said that's useful. So recognizing that, then we're less attached to objects, less grasping, less stress. Second one is rising ends in falling. And this is definitely my experience every time I bake a cake. It looks great in the oven, and then you take it out and it collapses, and I've never quite worked out what you're supposed to do. But the Buddha was more, rather than talking about cakes, he was more talking about rising to high positions in life. So another thing we strive for is respect, or high position, or fame, or authority, control. So the Buddha said all rising ends in falling. So we spent a lot of our energy, a lot of our life chasing this, I want this promotion, or I want this respect, or I want, this high position, because it will give me lots of things. And, we can look at John Howard, or Julia Gillard, Kevin Rudd, and so on. Malcolm Turnbull, which other ones have there been? Tony Abbott, Donald Trump. And now that high position's gone, people are a lot less interested in what they've got to say. It doesn't really matter so much what they say. No one's interested in Donald Trump's tweets. He can't tweet now, but no one's interested. It's like a big relief to a lot of people anyway. But so losing position, no matter how prestigious it is a certainty. Through gaining a position, we will, during life, we'll lose it. Someone else will get that position. The position will become redundant, or we'll become incapable. We'll become old. We'll get Alzheimer's. We'll die and lose that position. So again, the Buddha said this is useful to know, so we're not so stressed and grasping after position. We see it in a more balanced light. The next one was all meeting ends in parting. So that you meet someone defines that you will definitely and certainly be parted from them. We don't think about that when we meet someone we really like. We don't think this at this moment is creating the cause to me being parted from them. But it's again, through impermanence, it's absolutely the case. There's parted through the force of conditions in this life. People take their own pathways, or people lose loved ones through car crashes, or through war, or through sickness, and so on. And through meeting, no matter how close we are, our minds might be completely aligned. We might just stick together, do everything together. Through the force of conditions, that separation is a certainty. So again, the Buddha said this is, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's a bit of a relief. Like you get on the train early in the morning, and I'm thinking, I get on, maybe 6 o'clock. I'm thinking I'll have a bit of a snooze or maybe do some meditation, and then someone gets on with their headphones blasting out this techno pop or the gangster rap right next to you. So in that case, all parting, or someone else on the train is reliving a conversation. They're saying, and I said this, and then she said that, and then they said this, then I said this, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, that's pretty hard to listen to. So then all meeting and parting ends in parting. It's a bit of a relief, but generally we can be quite attached to our relationships, very, very strongly attached to our relationships, and it can become a cause of stress, particularly at the time of separation, and too much grasping. A lot of people have overly controlling in their relationships, so they're not aware of that separation factor that is part of nature. So it's very, very useful for us again to recognize that. Then the fourth of those, so these are the main categories of things we're attached to and we stress about. So collection of things, wealth, position, relationships. And the last one is all birth ends in death. Birth ends in death. So you might think that's not a very cheery subject on a nice sunny afternoon. But the Buddha's teachings, he didn't just give sort of feel-good meditations that you can go and hide from reality with. Go to my safe imaginary place or just meditate on love and compassion and nice, things that make me feel good. Well, Buddha gave a complete path for dealing with reality, because reality will find us. We might try and just meditate on feel-good meditations, but reality will find us because our minds are bound by delusion and karma. We're in samsara. We will get upset, we will get bored, we'll get angry, and things will happen to us in life. So the Buddha says it's useful having methods for dealing with everything. And we have to think about death, our own death. So in some ways we've got an instinctive aversion to thinking about death. Some people have a superstition: if you talk or think about death, then there's a cause of it. So that's not actually the cause of death. Like a clot in the heart is a cause of death, or a car driving into you at 100 k's is a cause of death. Thinking about reality is not a cause of reality. And also we've got a bit of an aversion. I suppose it's a natural instinctual thing to disease. Like if someone, has, skin boils or leprosy and they're serving you food, you sort of recoil, and people naturally, and I think animals too, they quite often avoid sickness, because there's a sort of instinctual awareness it can make you sick. So we have to not worry about our fear of thinking about death, and focus on it. So funerals are very good in that they're very, in the West we're pretty shielded from death. Like if you're in a poorer country, quite often someone will die and they'll be there in the house, and you see the corpse, and you might even see the corpse, all the way to burial or being burnt. Whereas in the West, we often quickly whisk the body away, have it dressed up to make it look like the person's alive, and so on. And so it's harder to get this sense that of death. an understanding of it. So why teach? Why did the Buddha teach death and impermanence? As it seems obvious, everyone says, "I know I'm going to die." You know, everyone knows I'm going to die. So one reason is that we have maybe some complacency, or we have this assumption that my life will continue into some assumed sort of nice retirement with all our faculties, you know, without dementia, without Alzheimer's. Which I'd like to assume we've got this, and that life will continue. My experience of life is what life is. We tend to sort of think that. It's very hard to imagine a life completely different from mine, or that my life could become completely different from how my life is. Even though people experience that all the time. Like a doctor says, "Sit down, I'm sorry, the results are back, you've got liver cancer." Or someone invades your country and starts slaughtering the population, or a car smash, or whatever. But we tend to have this sort of inbuilt complacency. Yeah, my life's been like this, and that's the way life is, and that's the way it'll continue. And so what's the big deal, you know? And I'll die sometime off in the future. And we've got our retirement plans to maybe to join the convoy of grey nomads in the camper vans going around Australia, you know? And that's what's going to happen for me. But of course, there's no guarantee that any of that will happen. We've got no guarantees. So it's okay to avoid a subject if it's not going to happen. But if it is going to happen, then it's very good to know the ins and outs and to get to grips with it. Like if we know there's going to be a tsunami, and death is a bit similar to a tsunami in that it takes us away from everything we're attached to. You know, we're attached. I'm attached to my family, my friends, my job, my property, and so on. You know, my car, whatever. And death takes me away from all of that. So if we build a hut on the beach, it's good to know if there's going to be a tsunami. It's good not to pretend there's not going to be. Or there's going to be sea level rise. It's good to know, otherwise we get washed away and we get a bit surprised. So, yeah. So, what's the importance of the subject? The Buddha thought, Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, 2,500 years ago, he taught, that was his first subject he taught, was impermanence, in the first turning of the wheel. And it was the last subject he taught at his death. So he was giving an indication, this is something very important that we're not really getting, and we need to understand impermanence. And it's a bit paradoxical that to really value life, you have to understand death, and you have to understand that death can occur at any time. And then life becomes very precious. It's not just another day. I'm trudging off to work, I'm seeing the same people, I'm coming home, going through the same routine with my family. It's this is a precious day of life because it's not going to last. There's no guarantee of tomorrow. So one Tibetan Lama, he said, we waste the day. If we don't think about death every day, we'll waste that day. We won't have a really meaningful day, and we'll just fritter it away. So the advice from the Buddha and from this lineage is, is to focus on death every day of our life. And the idea is not to depress us. It's to transform the way we see life. Yeah. So birth and death are really the two most important events in our life. And from now on, from Buddhist viewpoint, your time of death is your most important time, because your mind at death will then project your future state. The same way at the moment our minds project the reality we experience. You know, everyone's having a slightly different experience here. Some people might think this is boring, this is morbid. Some people might think this is interesting, and so on. So our minds are creative, and when we fall asleep, our minds are very creative. They project a dream reality. And it's the same at the time of death. We don't have all this stuff around to buffer how the power of our mind projecting reality. So at the time of death, our mind is very potent, and it's said a karmic seed will ripen and create our next rebirth, or create our next state. Same way as we create dreams. So death is, it's only a small action. If you've ever seen anyone die, it's basically there's no in-breath. It's a very small action. Just suddenly there's no in-breath. But it's a very big consequence, because it's a transition from the life you know into a life you absolutely don't know. So it's a big deal. So there's presented in the Path to Enlightenment, there's this 9-point meditation on death and impermanence. And it's got 3 main points that we have to understand, and 3 reasons support each point. So the first main point is death is definite. I've got to become clear. My death is definite. I'm not going to just exist sort of in this imaginary, nice, never-ending retirement thing. My death, I'm going to die. That's the first thing to try to understand clearly. And the second thing is said to be the most important thing, that the time of death is uncertain. That we absolutely can't guarantee even our next heartbeat, let alone our next day, let alone our next week, next year. No one can guarantee that for us. And the last major point to understand is that at the time of death, the things we normally rely on for support and happiness, they're no longer there. We're separated from them. So what can we rely on? So, like I say, there's three major reasons. The first one, this death is definite. The first reason is nothing can prevent death. And I'll just read a verse on page. There's quite a few verses in this section from Sayings of the Buddha on Impermanence. And he said, wherever you may stay, there is no place not reached by death, not in space, not in the ocean, not even hiding in a mountain. So some places we feel more secure, you know. I feel more secure under my duna when it's nice and warm. It's cold outside and you feel sort of safe and secure, tucked under your duna, and all your doors are locked and you feel secure. And or you might feel secure, I don't know, if you've ever been to a deep cave, there's this very solid feeling around. Like caves feel very sort of secure. Or people might have, you know, on the beach, I feel very relaxed and safe, or wherever it is. So the Buddha is saying there's no safe location, no matter what legal contracts we've got about ownership of our house, or no matter how many layers of protection and how many bolts we've got on the doors, there's no safe place from death. We will definitely die. If we remain in any of those places, at some stage, we'll pass on. So, that's the first meditation. The second verse is all the Buddhas and solitary realizers, even the Buddha's hearers, have had to leave their bodies. What need to speak of ordinary beings? So all the Buddhas is enlightened beings. I mentioned in previous weeks that we all have this potential within our minds for enlightenment. The very nature of your mind, the clarity and awareness of your mind is your potential for enlightenment can be transformed into the mind of a Buddha. Excuse me, I'm getting croaky. It's not because I'm getting emotional about death. It's so all the Buddha's hearers and solitary realizers is that if you realize the nature of reality, you overcome samsara. You gain what's called nirvana liberation through seeing the emptiness nature of all things and the emptiness of I. You're actually no longer bound in this cycle of birth and death. So they're very accomplished practitioners, yogis, meditators, have actually realized the underlying nature of reality and have overcome all suffering and this cycle of birth and death. But still, within samsara, these holy beings die, like Lord Jesus Christ died, Holy Mother Mary died, Lord Buddha died, the founder of this tradition, Lord Tsongkhapa, great master, died, the founder of Geshe Acharya Thubten Loden, he passed away in 2011. So no matter how powerful and accomplished, what level of attainment you have, you die. No matter what medical knowledge you have, no matter if you've got the best herbal macrobiotic diet and most, the best naturopath, the best surgeons, the best of everything, the most expensive, you die. Everyone dies, no matter what power they have in the world. Hitler died, Stalin died, Mao Zedong died, complete control. All the current presidents, all the current dictators will die. Doesn't matter how much power they've got over, might have power over 1.5 billion people, still going to pass on and die. So no power can stop that. And the most intelligent people also die. So this is all trying to get the sense that death is certain. I will definitely die. So the next quote is, those of the past, present, and future all pass on by leaving their bodies. The wise one, realizing the impermanence of these, practices the Dharma with thorough analysis. So those of the past, present, and future, everyone in history has died. Everyone who's alive today will be dead in 130 years. No matter how involved with their life is and how full of themselves they are and their own power and their own preoccupations, they'll be gone, faded away, dissipated, nothing left. So, unless we're the first in history, then you too will die. So the second reason supporting this point that death is definite is that lifespan is continuously decreasing. And again, I'll read verse 132. Remaining neither day nor night, this life is constantly slipping by and never getting any longer. Why will death not come to one like me? So our life is continuously getting less. It's like trying to hold water in your hand. You can't hold on to it. It's slipping through. No matter how tightly, that water is going to seep through your hand. And so every breath we take is one less. You won't get that breath back. So I don't know, in a lifespan, how many breaths would you get? Maybe, I'm completely guessing, 100 million breaths. So another one's gone, and another one's gone, and another one's gone. And it's closer to the point where you don't get an in-breath. That's the point of death. Everyone dies because they don't get an in-breath. So we're step by step whittling away our in-breaths. And step by step we're whittling away our days. So we don't know when we're going to die. It might be in a year, might be in a week, might be in 50 years. But however long that is, that's one day less, one day less, one day less. Can't get that day back. And this precious life we have, with extraordinary opportunity, is going step by step. So hopefully I'm not depressing anyone here. I'm going to talk about the benefits more of meditating on death towards the end of this, but it is a very, very useful realization. So the next verse is, for those condemned to death, each step taken forward brings them closer to their demise, and human life is similar to that. So if someone's been given the death sentence in a country that's still got capital punishment, and they've got to walk towards the hangman's noose, then you've got to walk towards the firing squad or towards the electric chair, then that walk is you pretty much take notice of each step. You're thinking, crikey, that's one closer, one closer. It's a big deal. But in reality, we only get, wherever we decide to go, you're only going to get so many steps in your life. So people trying on their phone, they get 10,000 steps a day, But every one of those steps is actually a step closer to your death, similar to someone who's going to die. It's one step less we can take. And that's logical. That's maths, You get 10 million steps, 10 million minus 1, 10 million minus 2, and so on. So that's, yeah. All right, well, one more verse in this section. I'm sort of skipping through this. There's a lot more really good verses for meditating on this. So the Buddha in the Extensive Sports Sutra, he said, the three existences are as impermanent as autumn clouds. The birth and death of beings is like watching a play. The life of a being passes as lightning in the sky, passing as quickly as water falling down a steep mountain. So our life is similar to a stream. You can talk about your life stream. And the stream never goes back uphill. It always flows in one direction. And that's the flow of your life. It's all one direction, from birth, heading towards death. You can't reverse, you can't pump the water back uphill. We're no matter however long we're going to live, we're moving in that direction towards that destination. So from that viewpoint, death is definite. And the third reason is given is that whether we practice Dharma or not, we're going to die. So we might think, oh, these spiritual teachings, they're too depressing. They're always talking about life and death. I want to forget about it. I want to go out in the sun. I want to play football and forget about it. But even if we do that, it's going to happen. And even if we practice Dharma, it's going to happen. We're not stopping death by meditation or by understanding death, but we're becoming more capable of dealing with it and dealing with life in a better way. So that's the first, again, I've gone way too long. The second section is the time of death is uncertain. So human lifespan is uncertain. Again, we have a bit of complacency. We like to assume we're going to get the retirement, we're going to get in the camper van, we're going to join the grey nomads, we're going to chug around Australia. And and that's the dream. But there's people dying as babies, particularly, in Australia too, and there's people who die as children. But particularly in poorer countries, there's lots of people die as infants, through dirty water or disease and so on. But in Melbourne, there's people dying as teenagers, there's people dying middle age, there's people dying at every age. So logically, we can't assume our lifespan is certain, is fixed. The second reason is that there's more factors conducive to death than to life. So for us to stay alive, our bodies have this thing called homeostasis. We have to maintain many different things within very narrow parameters to stay alive. We've got to stay around 37 degrees. Our body keeps you. If you drop down to, say, 27 or go up to 47, you're dead. Oxygen concentration in the bloodstream has to be within certain parameters, otherwise you're dead. The amount of protein broken down to urea in your blood has to be excreted through the urine and kidneys, otherwise you're dead. CO2 level, sodium level, potassium level in the cells. Our body's working like crazy to keep everything just right to sustain life. And it's the same with, all our cells have been replaced because they're becoming unable to function. So we've got this incredible thing happening, hundreds of billions of cells, all doing the right thing. And all our various systems, like our nervous system, our endocrine, or hormones, all working like crazy to keep us alive. So, so it said there's more factors conducive to death than life. We just got to step outside those parameters and we're dead, We're frozen to death, we're dehydrated, we're physically damaged. We've got a clot, clot in the heart, clot in the lungs, clot in the brain, a stroke. We've got had a vaccine, had a bad reaction. Very occasionally someone dies from that. We have COVID and die from that. So there's many, many causes. And there's things we don't normally think about. I had a bit of a squiz on the internet. And apparently more people are killed by donkeys than by plane crashes. You wouldn't expect to be killed by a donkey. Or more people are killed by coconuts than by sharks. So you get hit on the head by a coconut, you didn't really expect to go that way. Occasionally someone gets killed by a champagne cork. This is all reliable information. It's come from a reliable source. It's the internet. But there's lots of ways we can die. There's natural disasters. There's car crashes, there's plane crashes, there's been assaulted, there's tripping over like Daniel Andrews and wrecking his back. Yeah, so and recognizing that the body is very fragile. Like I say, we've got this thing called homeostasis. So I was going to read some more verses, but I'm going way over time. I might just read one. Actually, I've got the wrong page. I've got it from another book. The time of death is uncertain. It says, the earth, Meru, and oceans, even such physical bodies as these, will be consumed by the 7 blazing suns, when even their dust will not remain. What need to speak of such a frail human body? So the 7 blazing suns, that's talking Buddhist cosmology about the Big Bang, when everything comes together and is basically consumed. The Buddha 2,500 years ago basically talked of this, the universe contracting, being consumed in fire and then recreating. So similar to what scientists these days talk about the Big Bang and then the Big Crunch, with the Big Bang, Big Crunch. So if even the Earth is impermanent, if mountains are impermanent, then what about this fragile body we've got? So the conclusion is, death is definite. The time of death is uncertain. Therefore, I must practice Dharma now. That's what we're trying to get to. Realize I've got a precious opportunity. I can develop compassion. I can develop love. I can develop wisdom. Then the third proposition is that at death time, only the Dharma can help. So normally we rely on lots of things to feel for my happiness, for my security, or rely on my family, or rely on my friends, or rely on my house, or rely on my food, or rely on my entertainment. Then I can be secure and happy. And the Buddha said, at the time of death, we lose all of that. We go through an 8-stage death process. Similar to when we fall asleep, it's a dissolution of all our sense faculties. When you fall asleep, suddenly you can't see things anymore. When you fall asleep, you can't hear things. When you fall asleep, you don't know. If it's a deep sleep, you don't know that someone's there. You don't know they're talking. You lose connection with them. If you go into a very deep sleep, you just have what's called the clear light of sleep. There's not even thoughts or dreams. There's just this clarity of mind. And the death process is said to be similar. It's an 8-stage dissolution of our gross and coarse senses through to a more subtle state called the clear light of death. So all the things we normally rely on, my friends, my family, we lose connection to them when we die. When we're going into this death process, we're on our own. So it's said, these things can't support us. But what can support us is our internal resources, the resources of the mind. All that's left is your mind. So what can support you is what's called your merit, your positive energy, your positive karma, your compassion, your love, your wisdom. These things aren't lost. So they're enduring, and they're our best resource in life and in death. And that will support us to good conditions, good rebirth, according to the Buddha and according to all these great masters. You can actually even very accomplished yogis can actually watch this process happen, this dissolution, and actually meditate throughout the death process. And Yeah, there's some quite extraordinary, like Geshe actually when he passed away, I probably won't go into it, but there was a 10-day meditation process after stopping breathing. And it's completely extraordinary. Like the undertaker was completely, absolutely amazed, because normally the body breaks down, but in this yogic process it doesn't happen. But anyway, it's we're going off the beaten track there. So the benefits, so the conclusion is we need to practice Dharma. We need these inner resources, and we need to practice Dharma purely and properly. And then we're protected during death, and we're protected during life. We make the most of our life, basically. So what are the benefits of contemplating impermanence? First thing is we have less delusion. Meditating on impermanence reduces all of our negative and destructive emotions. So we have less attachment. When we're attached to things, we tend to freeze. We think this can sustain me in happiness. There's this mental image of that isn't dealing with reality. Like, say, a very strong desire in the honeymoon phase of a relationship, then the object that appears to the person, the other person appears as this thing's going to set me in happiness forevermore. It's just a wonderful thing, this other person. When we don't recognize they're going to step by step get old, get wrinkly, maybe become incontinent, maybe get dementia, then become ash, and so on. We don't recognize that. We're dealing with the fantasy image. We're not dealing with reality. So it reduces attachment. Reduces attachment to my BMW. It's going to fall apart. Reduces attachment in our relationships. This clinging, possessiveness, and controlling. It reduces anger, because we might get angry because the neighbours chopped my hedge, or might get angry because my partner has squeezed the toothpaste in the wrong place, or left the toilet seat up and down, or whatever it is, or whatever we're upset with. Some people give you the silent treatment. Some people, they don't just do silent treatment when they're a child. They continue to give the silent treatment through adult life, and it's like a tool they wheel out because they're upset and they're not quite sure why. But through recognizing impermanence, we recognize this relationship is very, very temporary. The thing that's happened has happened, it's gone. And our relationship, we're going to be separated. So it's not worth holding on to anger. Same with things like jealousy, jealous that someone's got a relationship, or they got the job, or same with vanity or ego or arrogance. It's hard to be full of yourself if you really realize I'm disintegrating. This is a very temporary position. Whatever position you've got is very temporary. With the ego, the person feels great. They feel in control. The president who's the dictator, who's in control of everything. But it's very temporary and fragile and disintegrating. So, all delusions are reduced through impermanence. There's Shantideva, he said, whatever I enjoy shall become a memory. Whatever has passed will not be seen again. So that's a beautiful verse for reducing our attachment. So other things, our worries are reduced. If we really understand impermanence, it reduces our worry. Because often in the back of the mind, we're trying to hold things together, we're trying to control the environment, control things, but we don't sort of accept this truth of impermanence. But once someone's accepted it at a heart level, then no more worries. You know things are going to change. So much stress is associated with change. You know, stress of a divorce, stress of a marriage, stress of losing a job. It's all to do with change. Even stress of going on holiday is to do with change. So the more we can accept change, the less worry we have. Another benefit is we appreciate what we have. So if we have people we're close to, and if we really understand impermanence, then every day with them is more precious. It's not just another day, we're doing the same thing, but you know, we're going to be separated. We definitely will. This person you love, you're going to be separated from them. Then suddenly it's far more, you know, once they die, then you really appreciate them. But it's good beforehand to appreciate, to realize, you know, on a daily basis, this relationship's impermanent. And also we've got a shorter opportunity to actually help people, and that's what a lot of people at death time, that's what they really value. What have I done for the other person? So another benefit taught in the path is that at death time we can relax. If we meditated on impermanence, then when the doctor tells you you've got liver cancer or pancreatic cancer, or you know, a car hits you and you're going to die, then it's not a shock. It's not, oh my God, you know, I've been living in this bubble pretending this is going to go on forever. I absolutely know I'm impermanent. I've lived the best I can. No worries. Rather than going into panic mode. My God, I've been told I've got cancer. I'm going to die. You know, I'm going to lose all this. Panic, panic, panic. Get angry. What are the stages of sort of denial, then anger, then grief, then acceptance, and all that stuff? If you meditate on impermanence, you don't have to do all that stuff. The yogi knows the reality. They just get it straight away. You know, no problem. It's part of life. And then another great benefit is our actions become powerful and meaningful. We don't just fill our lives with trivial stuff that has no consequence. We fill our lives with more meaningful activity, particularly if we start to see the potential of the mind for peace, the potential for happiness, the potential for enlightenment, and that everyone has that potential. So, I think we're supposed to be doing some more meditation. So, reflecting on death, then we become our own best protector. We think, I don't want to spend today being upset. I don't want to spend today being aggro. I don't want to spend today being worried. I want to actually grab this life I've got and use it as best I can. So we'll do a quick meditation on those 4 limits of impermanence. So sitting in meditation posture and completely relaxing the mind, just focus on the breath for a few breaths. Anything else appears to mind, just come back to the breath. So meditate, all collection ends in dispersal, all accumulation. So focus on all your possessions that you're attached to, or your wealth. Will be dispersed at some stage in your life through the force of conditions, or definitely at the time of your death. You'll be separated from all your favorite things. So therefore, we can relax with regards to our possessions and wealth. And not have too much grasping, too much attachment, too much tension and stress and worry. Or spend too much of our life just trying to get more. Because they're impermanent. And focus on all rising ends in falling, no matter what status or position or fame or respect you get in life. At some stage you'll be separated from all of that. Just as old presidents and prime ministers have been separated from their position. So again, we can think this allows me to relax with regards to position and status and reputation. It may be useful when I have it, but no need for too much grasping or too much clinging or too much stress. Then we can meditate that all meeting ends in parting. Doesn't matter how close you are to someone, how much you depend on them. At some stage, through the force of conditions, you'll be separated. Either in this life or at death. So again, this allows us to relax. We can enjoy and make the most of the relationship while we have time together. Again, without too much clinging or controlling or stress. And the last point is all birth ends in death. So we can meditate that my death is definite. I will die. Doesn't matter where I go. Doesn't matter what medicine I take. Because step by step, my life is getting shorter, moving towards death. Each breath is one breath less in this life. And the time of death is uncertain. Could be tomorrow, next week, next year, or in 30 years, we don't know. And we can recognize at the time of death, the only thing I can rely on is my mind and my virtue, my compassion and love, my wisdom. Because we're separated from everything else. So we can stabilize on the thought, therefore I must practice developing my mind, developing my good heart. I must practice now. And I must practice purely. And I must try to practice kindness to others who are also impermanent in my life. And finally, we can dedicate the merit or positive energy of the session towards your own peace and happiness and good conditions and good rebirth, step by step all the way to enlightenment. And the enlightenment of all living beings without exception. And we can finish the meditation. Anyone got any questions about the talk today, or about anything to do with this place or Buddhism? Or you're welcome to ask. Or you can certainly at tea time as well. You're welcome to ask questions. There's probably be a few other older students there too. So no questions. Anyone think they're not going to die? It's funny, it's such a simple thing, it's such an obvious thing, but we don't get it. I think it's similar to smokers with a cigarette packet right in front of them with lung cancer. Like I used to work in theatre and I remember one thoracic surgeon. He was a chain smoker. You'd be in theatre, he's with a scope down people's lungs, and you get these images of just black, with sort of red cracks, like really diseased lungs, all on the screen. We're all looking at it. And then you're rushing outside to have another cigarette. He still didn't get the realization. I think that's the case. We know things, but we don't get them. But anyway, everyone's welcome for tea and coffee, and thanks for coming. Thank you.